my fellow spiritual misfits. Good to see you again. I'm feeling a little chatty today, so thought I'd hop on the old Instagram and go live. So hi, how's it going? I've been seeing the synchronicities like crazy today. The 369s and the 111s are off the chart. So there's definitely magic in the air. I don't know if I feel like I'm the only one sometimes, but I'm curious if today you're also seeing them off the charts. It's weird because some days, they're always around. Just a little wink and a nod from the universe, but some days it's more than a wink and a nod. Sometimes it feels like a slap in the face. It's like, okay, I get it. I'm exactly where I need to be. Thanks. Love you, universe. So it feels good, reassuring, and I just thought I'd pass that along. So I've been recording on the podcast. For those of you that haven't followed me, a Cult of Misfits. I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube. It's sort of unfortunate that Instagram doesn't have a better video functionality like pause or rewind. It's kind of clunky. I know that it's there, but I prefer listening to podcasts on YouTube or on Spotify just for ease of use. So if you're interested in hearing some more of me talking about stuff, then I've been cranking out these podcast transmissions. So head over there and check out what I'm doing over there if you haven't already. If you like what I'm doing over there, I would love and appreciate it if you could follow me. I just did an episode about Wu Wei, which is this Taoist philosophy of not just going with the flow, that's a component of it, but sort of learning that there's times of action and inaction, going with the universal flow of our lives and not trying to push it. Like, there are days when I feel like I got to record an episode, like according to who? I don't know, the voice in my head, right? And then I try to push it, and then it just doesn't feel natural, and I feel stressed out about it, and that it's just not my best work. And so I'm learning the Wu Wei to go with that flow and realize, today it's not meant to be. I'm not meant to create today, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong or I'm not good enough or, whatever the story, the voice in my head tells me that day, right? Just about ignoring that and realizing like, when it feels good, it'll feel good. Just like today, I'm just, sitting around. I got a lot of thoughts flowing through my cranium and, it just felt right to hit record. So here I am. So that's Wu Wei in action, guys. I just like to test some of these ancient philosophies, these theories, these Eastern philosophies, especially that talk about just going with the flow. And I like to test it out in my own life and report back to you with the results. So, life just goes easier when I just go with what feels right. 'Cause there are some days that like, I got a lot of creativity in me. And so I'll, maybe record 2 episodes, and maybe do some AI art, online or, just something creative, and it just flows out of me. And it's like, yes, this feels so good. Whereas just yesterday, it did not work at all. It felt totally wrong. And it's just about learning to let that go. It's all right. It's going to flow when it flows. So check out that episode if you're interested in that sort of thing. I've been thinking a lot about how everything is a spectrum. I've been thinking a lot about how this world that we're in is sort of functions on duality, on the binary. It's, good versus evil, up versus down, left versus right. Everything is so binary in our world. And the ancient Gnostics, the early Christians, they believed and taught that everything is a spectrum, meaning that it's not actually binary, that there is no hot and cold. Let me explain. It's all about perspective. Let's talk about hot versus cold. They seem to be opposites, but the truth is there's a lot of temperatures in between hot and cold, right? It's a spectrum of temperature. And the perspective comes in where I stick my hand in the water and I say that that's hot. But you stick your hand in the water and you would call that lukewarm at best, right? The water's temperature hasn't changed at all. We're just having different perspectives different opinions on what the definition of hot cold is, right? So I started really unpacking that and started applying it to things in our world, things in my world. And I can see that we're starting to go to a spectrum. Like, I feel like the consciousness on this planet is expanding. And as it expands, it's able to take in other perspectives. I started thinking about just the sexuality spectrum, how it used to be, you're either gay or straight. And then at some point, I feel like bisexual is thrown in the mix at some point. And everybody's like, hold on. You got to pick a side here. I feel like the old school way of thinking, right? And of course, this isn't everybody's thinking, but I feel like the collective humanity was like, hold on. What do you mean there's a third sexuality? Like, you either like your sex or you don't, and there's no gray area in between that. But I feel like as a society, this might just be American too, of course, right? But I feel like we're sort of exploring this idea of sexuality being a spectrum and not being binary anymore. We're breaking out of that duality, that dualistic thinking. It's reprogramming, like I always talk about, and I love it. Because I feel like as we look within and start changing the way that we perceive things, that's when it starts being shown on the external. As within, so without. As above, so below, etc. So I've always thought that what's going on inside of my heart is like a projector into my 3D world. And as my heart changes, my world literally changes what I'm looking at. And so I feel like as more and more people are open to seeing things as a spectrum and not seeing it dualistically, that there's growth in that. That there's expansion in that. There's enlightenment in that. And not just sexuality, but in terms of gender too. I feel like it's such a... it's so difficult for people to wrap their minds around right now when people talking about gender, right? There's only two genders, male and female. You're either one or the other. You can call yourself a female, but like you can also call yourself a dog. Doesn't mean you're a dog. Doesn't mean you're female, right? There's this dualistic mentality. It's just programming. It's just and it's neither good nor bad. It's just it's a perspective, right? But it's not taking into account the full spectrum of things. And so I feel like as we awaken, as we start looking into these things, we start questioning it all, which is a part of awakening as well. A part of that expansion of consciousness. Whatever, it's hard to use words for these things. Like, what is consciousness? What are you talking about? But it's like, I don't know, guys. I just like pondering it, whatever it is. We'll just call it consciousness. But I'm always dubious of people. I stopped following a bunch of people in the spiritual community because I got tired of people telling me the way that it is. Because at the end of the day, they don't fucking know what's going on. They don't know what happens in the afterlife. They have an opinion. Maybe they've astral traveled or had an out-of-body experience or had a supernatural event or something in their life. And they're like, no. It's all real. There are angels. There are spirits. There are multidimensional beings out there, etc. But at the end of the day, that's just an experience you had. I mean, I'll take it into account. I'll listen to it. But at the end of the day, like, I have to experience it for myself. So I have a hard time listening to these spiritual teachers or gurus or whoever on the internet, on YouTube or whatever, preaching and proclaiming that this is the way, when at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know anything, guys. I'm very agnostic that way, where I just feel like, I have opinions, but I try not to declare them as facts. I can declare them as, this is what I did in my own life. Here's how it worked for me. But there's no guarantee it's going to work in your life, right? So I have a problem with people who tell me that this is the way that it's supposed to be, or this is how things operate, or there are 12 dimensions. Like, okay, according to you, maybe some other people. I don't know, guys. Like, I just like to be constantly the seeker. I'm always just constantly trying to seek advice, and I'll take that evidence into account. I'll take your story into account. But at the end of the day, I need to see it, feel it, and taste it for myself. So that's just a little side rant for me there. But I feel like I feel like part of enlightened thinking is viewing everything as a spectrum and stepping outside of that binary. there's always kind of been a push for a third party in our political system here in America and other places in the world, of course, that are, bicameral or whatever. But I feel like I pulled that out of my 7th grade ass, that word bicameral. I think I know what it means, but maybe I don't. So it's dualistic, guys. That's all I really know. But I just think that once we start viewing things as a spectrum, it's a more enlightened place to be. That's the heightened place to look at things, as viewing things as a spectrum and not so binary. And so I like to see these third parties coming in our politics because we're getting there, right? Because I think that I very rarely talk to people that are 100% Democrat or 100% Republican. It's very rare, right? Most people are in the middle somewhere, and it's not represented in our political system. I didn't expect to talk about politics today, but here we are. And I can feel that push is changing. I feel like I don't follow the news, so to be honest with you, I'm not really in tune with the latest. But I've been listening to a lot of Bobby Kennedy, and just listening to what he has to say. And I just love that he's representing that sort of middle area where it's like, I don't want to declare myself as this or that. I just wish that there was somebody that represented me that wasn't so black and white, right? And I think that as we open ourselves up, as we open our own hearts up, that will be reflected in our governmental systems. But I think in order for that change to happen, we have to change it within our own hearts first. I think that's what the key is. And I think that I'm really hitting on something here. I really feel this. So I feel like, protests are all good and fine. Getting a bunch of signatures, all fine and good. But I also feel like, that in order to make real change in the external, whatever it is that you are wanting to change, you have to first change it in your own heart. And it spreads. That's how it's done. By going within. And so I like seeing, this duality breaking apart. I feel like this is what the ancients talked about. That, once we go to the other side, whatever that means, it's not dualistic. We just happen to be living in this dualistic reality. And in order to break free from that, I feel like it's about just letting it go within your own heart, letting go your beliefs and who you think you are as a human being. My life has changed so much. I view everything so differently now. I'm not attached to any of these ideologies or belief, religious or political or spiritual or otherwise. Maybe today I think this is what happens after we die, but maybe tomorrow that'll change. I'm not attached to it one way or the other. I just love thinking about it and exploring it. I think the whole thing is a game. I think the whole thing is a game. And it's not meant to be taken so seriously. That's really been a game changer for me in my own life because I don't take things so seriously anymore. Life used to really stress me out a lot. And it's not to say that it doesn't, but it just doesn't have the same effect that it did on me. It's freeing for me to not be stressed out and worried all the time. It feels good. The more that I just sort of lean into just letting go of everything. I had a tight grip on so much in my life. It was just, it was overtaking me because I was trying to control so many things in my life is what it really is. And once I learned to just woo away this motherfucker, just to go with the flow, which is counterintuitive. It goes against everything, right? But it's like a secret cheat code. And it works. It works in my life, I should say. It works for me. And according to the ancient philosophers, those with eyes to see, they were spouting off the same thing that I am right now. Everything I'm saying isn't new. It's just those who choose to pursue this path. It's a really wild ride. It's a really wild ride. I've been thinking a lot about technology and AI and just sort of trying to wrap my mind around it. And I'm starting to realize that every time there's a new technology in our history, there's always a group of people that react fearfully to it. And they're like, oh boy, where are we going with this? I don't know if I like this new thing that's coming along. It's going to change everything. And the thing is, people don't like change. That's what I'm realizing the problem is. When electricity came around, people were, there's a group of people that were scared of it. They wanted to go back to the old way. But I think that we are a technological civilization. We've been programmed that way. I think it's in our DNA. We can talk about maybe it's alien DNA that's causing us to be so technological. Perhaps there is alien technology that has accelerated the growth of mankind. That's a whole different conversation as well. But I was always suspicious, and I feel like it's healthy to be suspicious of all things, but as long as it doesn't transform itself into fear, which is easy, right? But I have a healthy dose of skepticism towards new technologies, but I'm just trying to go with the flow and realize that everything is happening for a reason. It's not like God is like, whoa, 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 what are you guys doing down there? Like everything's fine. Everything is going according to plan from my perspective. And just as with all things, there's going to be a light and shadow aspect to everything, and that includes technology. So there's going to be a good and a bad to technology, but of course, that's just a matter of perspective. So if you choose to view this technology as bad or evil or detrimental to humanity, then that is what it will be for you. But if you choose to say, I can also see that same technology, and I can see it in a positive light, how it's going to work for me, work for humanity, etc. And so it's all about how you choose to view it. If you choose to be scared of technology, well, my hat's off to you. I've been there. And I got sick of being scared all the time. So I realized that I'm going to choose the things that I want to be scared of, which is to say nothing. I dropped it all. I don't want to be scared of those things anymore. So I just choose to embrace it. I can't control what Google is doing at the end of the day. I can't control what these people at Boston Dynamics or Boston Robotics or whatever are making those fucking creepy ass dogs, right? There's a 936 on the license plate in front of me. So that's God's way of saying, the creepy dogs are not going to kill us all, guys. God will protect us from the creepy robot dogs. But I think this new technology, and I also questioned it. I also questioned technology's role with spirituality, because for a long time, up until recently, that's why I'm talking about it, is I always thought it was versus. It was always technology versus spirituality. Like you got to choose one side or the other. You're either in one camp or the other. But as I've been talking about in this video, I've been learning to let go of that and realize that it's a spectrum. There is no good and bad. There is no evil, unless you choose to view it that way. And then, okay, sure. But at the end of the day, I feel like, spirituality and technology can be used simultaneously. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? Thank you. Good to see you. I don't think that they're meant to be separate. What's been coming to me lately is that they're meant to work in harmony. That they're all just tools that we can utilize, right? Because there are spiritual technologies. I heard Aubrey Marcus use the term spiritual technology, and I had to pause the podcast. I was like, hold on, what does he mean by spiritual technology? Because I always thought that those things were two separate things. Like, why are you calling it that? So then I looked up what the definition of technology was, and it's essentially a tool, right? A tool that can be used. You can have a mechanical technology, or you can have a spiritual technology, and there is no right or wrong. You can have both of them, my friends. So I had to start breaking myself free from that duality and started realizing that, of course, everything is all one, like all of the spiritual teachers talk about. Everything's one, including all the technology. So I'm choosing to utilize spiritual technology as well as mechanical and man-made technology. And there's no right or wrong in that. They can both serve me equally. Right? And the technologies, spiritual or otherwise, that do not serve me, I don't use those technologies. I've never been somebody who likes to chant. I don't do mantras or any of that. That's a spiritual technology. It's a tool that people use to get themselves closer to the divine, to reach a closer enlightenment. That's a tool that can be used. I don't happen to like that particular tool. Right? And I had to tell myself that that's okay. Right? Because when I first started this whole spiritual journey and meditating, I always thought I was doing it wrong. Well, those guys all do mantras, and I just don't fucking feel like doing a mantra. I feel weird about it. Like, why? Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I'm not cut out for this whole spirituality thing. But I've come to realize there's an endless amount of tools that you can use at your disposal. Pick the ones that you like and don't use the ones that you don't like. That's that. right? That's why I stopped listening to these spiritual people on Instagram that I used to follow when I first was at certain chapters of my journey. They didn't resonate with me anymore. And that's okay. They were a spiritual tool for me that really worked for a while, and then it didn't work like it used to. And that's okay. That just means I'm getting an upgrade in tools. Now I have different technologies that I can use. I used to think I think a lot about the Tower of Babel and how anytime man got too big for his britches, the gods would knock down the tower and topple society, metaphorically, perhaps literally, right? With the Great Flood, etc. And so I wonder if these ancient technologies that perhaps the Atlanteans had or the Egyptians had or whatever ancient civilization you want to talk about, before or after the reset, there's been many resets on this planet, right? But I think like maybe the gods knocked them down because they were getting a little too big for their britches. Their technologies were starting to be God-like. And we got punished by the gods. And of course that's a possibility, but I don't know about that. I'm thinking about it often. That's why I talk about it, is because it's at the forefront of my mind. Like, I feel like we're at the end of a chapter here. We're at the end of something. I just feel this. I don't know if it's going to be an event, right? And I don't mean that to be sound scary at all, of course, but a solar event or a cosmic event or a supernatural or whatever event, right? And we have these cycles in our lives, and also on the grander scale, cosmically, there's these cycles, of course. But I can't shake the feeling that we're at the end of something here. But I'm going into it without any fear, and I think that that's what the whole point of this is just saying whatever is coming is coming, and it's meant to come, and I can fear it, or I can have arms open. Right? I choose to have arms open because that's the fearless way of doing it, and that's the loving way of doing it, is another way of saying that. Just this trusting that whatever is coming is meant for me. Whatever is coming is meant for us as a civilization, right? And to not take it so seriously, because you don't have to believe what I believe, of course, but I genuinely think there's a good chance that we're in a simulation right now. I think that there's a very good chance that this is not real in the way that we think that it is. And so when I put all the pieces together in my mind about, okay, there's a really good chance this isn't real. I feel like we're at the end of something. I've had this spiritual awakening that's, almost indescribable, and others out there have had the same thing happen. I just feel like something's coming, right? It's like, it feels like it's just too big. So, we'll see what that means, but I just find this whole place real fascinating. At the end of the day, I really, I wake up and I have to smile because this place is so fucking bananas. And it helps me to laugh about it. It helps me to say like, ha, this is fucking nuts. Am I right, guys? Sometimes tears streaming down my face. That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate you. This place is amazing. And even on the days when I'm frustrated, or even on the days when I'm tearing my hair out, or even on the days when I feel lost or defeated or whatever the emotion happens to be, I just know that at the end of the day, my soul is having the time of its fucking life. And so I have to smile because an aspect of me is loving every minute of this. And it just helps me to relax a little bit more. That felt good. I'm glad you could be here. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, love you.